Everyone knows that Andy's dad, the former owner of the toys, never appeared in any of the 5 Toy Story movies. But would you believe me if I told you that he was actually present in every single movie? And us fans, and even Andy himself, never realized any of it? Woody is Andy's dad. There's a theory that says that actually Mr. Davis, Andy's dad, was right there close to all of us during all the movies. To be more specific, he was inside the kids' bedrooms where the toys live. That's because he would be none other than Woody himself. You might even think, that makes absolutely no sense. Woody is a toy and can't have human kids. Hold your horses. We're going to explain all the details to you, and you'll see how this theory makes total sense. Remember the bizarre animated movie 9, where human souls and memories are transferred into little rag dolls? The theory claims that the exact same macabre premise happened in Toy Story. Andy's dad supposedly passed away tragically right before little Molly was born. But to get a second chance to watch over his kids, his soul was sent straight into Woody. It makes a lot of sense. After all, the doll has been around since the 1950s and was probably Andy's dad's childhood toy that got passed down to the boy. The big catch is that the condition for this comeback would be him losing absolutely all the memories of his family life. However, his essence remained intact. His unshakable leadership personality and his unconditional love for Andy lived on inside the ragdoll cowboy. Now tell me if that doesn't make some sense. Brace yourself, because we put together the 10 most sinister theories that you need to know about Toy Story. Andy passed away. In the emotional ending of Toy Story 3, Andy hands his beloved toys over to little Bonnie and goes off to college. But have you ever stopped to think about why he never came back to visit them again? The answer might be the darkest one of all. Andy is no longer alive. After years of absence, there wasn't a single mention of him in Toy Story 4 and Toy Story 5. And the reason behind this tragedy would be hidden right inside the Pixar universe itself. The theory points out that, during his youth, Andy suffered a fatal accident on the road. And guess which sinister vehicle supposedly caused this collision? The infamous Pizza Planet delivery truck, which was so old it lost its brakes and ended up crashing into the young college student. Think about it with me. This cursed vehicle shows up mysteriously and almost always at high speeds in absolutely every single Pixar movie. And it would be the one responsible for taking Andy's life. This cruelly explains why he never came back to Bonnie. He simply couldn't. But if Andy's end was scary, the true fate of the toys is even more bizarre. Toys have human souls. If the spirit of Andy's dad is trapped inside Woody, that brings us to an even scarier question. What if all the toys possess human souls? Think about it. How could mere pieces of cloth, ceramic, or plastic have such complex emotions? They feel empathy, suffer from loneliness, and show purely human flaws, like Woody's blind jealousy in the first movie. The macabre answer lies in a direct connection to another Pixar movie, Soul. Remember the place where souls get ready and search for a purpose? The bizarre theory claims that, in the shared Pixar universe, lost souls who couldn't make the crossing to the great beyond end up having children's objects on Earth as their final destination.
They reincarnate into the dolls as a second chance to learn about love, compassion, and companionship. That explains why they act exactly like us. They don't magically come to life. They harbor real souls trapped in the plastic. Andy is Emily's grandson. Many who watched Toy Story 5 don't even have a clue. But Pixar had real plans to show an already elderly Emily reuniting with Jessie in the franchise's new movie. However, the directors ended up cutting the scene that had even been drawn already. And the truth is, that this was going to happen for one single reason: the family tie between Emily and Andy's family, the previous owner of the toys. Have you ever paid attention to the hat that Andy wears in the first movie? If you look closely, his hat isn't brown like Woody's. It's red, absolutely identical to Jesse's hat. This dark theory states that he actually inherited this hat from his mum, who is actually the daughter of Emily that appears in the photo that Jesse dug up by the tree in Toy Story 5. This means that destiny forced Jesse to go right back exactly to Emily's family. Toys feed on happiness. Do you remember how the monsters in Monsters, Inc. needed kids' screams and laughter to generate power for their city? What if the toys in Toy Story do the exact same thing, just in a different way? This disturbing theory claims that the beloved dolls aren't all that innocent. Actually, they silently feed off the children's happiness. That perfectly explains why they want the kids to be happy so badly, as is the case with Lilypad in the 5th movie. And it also explains their absolute despair when they are tossed aside. When they are locked in the dark, isolated in dusty boxes, they don't just get sad, they start to physically drain. Without the childlike energy serving as fuel, they literally wither away and become evil, just like Lotso.
If you're enjoying the video, subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss any new videos.
Forky's existential horror. Toy Story 4 introduced us to Forky, but have you ever stopped to think about the bizarre and scary consequence of his existence? The creation of the new toy established a dark rule in the franchise. Anyone can create sentient life simply by picking up trash from the floor, gluing on some googly eyes, and giving it a purpose. If that is true, it means that millions of inanimate objects and scraps of trash all over the world can gain consciousness instantly. All it takes is a simple accident or a silly child's game for an old piece of packaging to wake up to life in a state of absolute panic. Just like what happened to Forky. Imagine the consequences of that. Pieces of trash getting a soul, suffering existential crises, and getting crushed right back into the trash cans. They would be doomed to rot while feeling every second of this torture in the dark, completely unable to scream for help. That sure is pretty disturbing and sick, don't you agree? Paralysis in front of humans is biological. In Toy Story 5, we saw that the Buzz Army, who didn't even know they were toys, paralyzed completely when the dock worker approached them with his flashlight. The exact same thing happens with the very first Buzz, who freezes in front of Andy in the first movie, even while being absolutely certain that he is a real space ranger. But why does that happen? The dark theory claims that the toys simply don't choose to play dead. The macabre truth is that they are physically forced to freeze by a biological and totally involuntary reflex.
They are true prisoners in their own bodies, paralyzed immediately by the presence of any human. That makes the story of Toy Story infinitely more terrifying. The toys stay paralyzed on the floor, feeling absolutely everything, totally unable to move or speak, even when they're being mutilated, burned, and cruelly tortured by kids like the neighbor's Sid. That's basically like living in a nightmare pretty much all the time. The toys died in the incinerator. We've now reached the darkest and saddest theory out of all the ones we're bringing you today. You must remember that desperate scene at the end of Toy Story 3, where all the toys hold hands, accepting their tragic end at the bottom of that giant incinerator. What if I told you that the aliens never actually showed up with the giant claw to save them at the very last second? Would you believe it? The theory claims that the miraculous rescue simply didn't exist. The movie ends right there, consumed by the fire. That whole heroic rescue, the emotional scene where Andy hands them over to little Bonnie, and the perfect life that follows, it would all be nothing but a lie. All of that would actually be a collective near-death hallucination. Or worse, it would be the vision of these souls crossing the gates into the toy paradise. The truth is that on that fateful day, they were all reduced to ashes while dreaming of a happy ending. If that is true, Lotso should have a spot reserved for him in the place that's the complete opposite of paradise, if you know what I mean. Regretful garbage man Sid. Like we mentioned before, Sid was that sadistic kid who tortured toys in the first movie. And he returns in Toy Story 3, where we see a garbage man wearing the exact same black skull shirt that Pixar confirmed is an adult Sid. But have you ever wondered why he chose exactly the profession of collecting garbage? The dark theory says that after being scared by the dolls in his childhood, Sid grew up carrying a completely lonely truth. He is, literally, the only adult in the whole wide world who knows that toys are alive, feel fear, and suffer real pain. That's why he took on this job, to dig through the trash cans of the entire city and rescue as many toys as possible. He desperately tries to save the dolls from a tragic end in the shredder as a form of redemption, trying to pay off his debt to the plastic universe. What about you? Do you believe that Sid actually deserves our forgiveness? Leave your opinion down here in the comments. Toys are immortal. I'm sure you know about the famous Pixar theory, which states that all the studio's movies take place in the exact same universe. But have you ever stopped to think about what happens to our beloved toys in the devastated era of the movie WALL-E? In the Friendly Little Robots movie, humans destroyed the planet with toxic trash and fled into space. But what about the dolls? They simply don't age and don't die of natural causes. This leads us to a purely terrifying and bizarre realization. There's a huge chance that Woody, Buzz, and thousands of other toys stayed alive and totally conscious, wandering abandoned through a completely radioactive and lifeless Earth. Keep in mind that they need kids' happiness to keep their sanity. Therefore, they would be doomed to immortality, going crazy over the course of centuries of pure loneliness in the middle of apocalyptic dust. All of this without absolutely any kids to take them out of the dark or play with them. Just between us, surviving the end of the world is, ironically, an infinitely more cruel and disturbing fate than any incinerator.
We'll stop here, but you can still keep watching more incredible videos. Just click on either of these two appearing for you. Until next time.